And we'll call this workshop order. All commissioners are present. All the Charles.
Well, gracious Father, we thank you once again for continues to pray for our community, pray for the commission and their families, where they continue to bless them and lead us the way we should go. We ask this in your son Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, I go ahead and turn it
All
over
right.
to you.
Thank you. I think we're going to go over the CRA in a better place, and these are really the funds where we can do projects, and the general fund is very much just an operating budget. These funds are meant for capital expenses for projects for really moving the ball forward. So I'm always excited to go through these funds. The CRA, we talk about, we'll start with the central CRA. I get a copy of this for you in case you can't see the slides over there, but essentially we're not expecting a really big increase in revenue. Central CRA just a little bit. Still waiting to calculate the county's portion. We think our portion is going to be $44,526. So our revenue went up a little bit over what we budgeted last year. And then our carry forward, important thing note in this fund, we budget the general fund, we budget like there's going to be nothing left over. We always budget start from zero. In this fund, we have to designate those funds to something. We have to show them, we put them up here as next year's revenue, whatever is left over. So, and this number is going to keep changing, it's going to keep going down as we go through. Because we'll keep spending money through the end of the fiscal year. So we'll tweak this budget right up until first reading so that it's accurate. So you can see next year, at this moment, we created this, we projected about $206,000 for next year in Central CRA. In the North CRA, it's a little bit less. We expect about $62,000 new revenue, about $100,000, $97,000 rolling over. For a total of about 160, but it is going up. We didn't spend much out of the North CRA, which we'll talk about. And then the South CRA is a little tiny fund. We expect about $9,000 new revenue, rolling over most of what was there in this current year. It gave us a total of about 26.6, so not much in that fund. So if we go back to the central for our expenditures, not much is changing. In the terms of overhead, big difference when we get to repair and maintenance. Initially, in the current year, we had budgeted $100,000. That was sort of the bulk of the funds. We since have moved some of that money, so there's $68,500 still there, and we expect to spend about $45,000 or more on that. But we're projecting maybe $35,000 next year for repair and maintenance, and that is fixing up the streetscape and so forth, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And then also things like stormwater, sidewalk repair, streetlight repair, irrigation repair, just zeroing those out, lumping those all into repair and maintenance. Advertising and marketing, just $15,000 for next year. Again, everything's gone down because they not as much reserve coming forward. And then festivals, having $10,000 in there as we draw on for our special events grants and some of our special events. And then finally, the last big item is the grant, which is the facade grant program. Our effort right now is to fund that same as we did the current year, $80,000, because we do a lot of good work with that. And then as the rollover shrinks through the next 3 months, we're going to try to hold fast to that, or we can talk about today. The real emphasis will be next year. So to summarize for you, the big emphasis in the coming year will be repair and maintenance of the streetscape. And right now that has $35,000. I applied for a T-Mobile grant, and I told them we would match $45,000. So if we're awarded that grant, we'll adjust this to $45,000. Building improvements, trying to keep that at 80,000 or as much as we can, so we can do several good-sized projects. And then combining special events and marketing, advertising, all into a combined about $25,000 to try and increase those activities in the coming year. Those are kind of the real emphasis for the central CRA. And then when I go to North and South, we'll come back and discuss this. So, and then this was a fun slide, all the different logos and things that come out of the central CRA. Oops. She ran from the room. Our marketing efforts, so most of that is going to be funded out of the central CRA. So the North CRA, we spent a little bit of money this year. We cleaned up the palm. There's some stable palm beds up there. Next year I want to do some landscaping with, but the bulk of the money here, current year we had $76,000 just improvement projects, because we don't have nothing called out in the redevelopment plan. It's paving roads, and there's one little dirt road up there behind what you see, and we have that in another process for a DOT grant potentially in the future. So I put the new money in there. The rest of it's about a little bit of marketing, advertising money, professional services. We want to do some renderings up there, some visualization. So the emphasis there in the north would be we can do some streetscape, do some more landscaping up there. And, we want to do a new entry feature at the north end of town, monument style sign with the look and so forth. That's going to be anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 on the monument sign.
Are we going to do one on each?
Yes, yeah.
But Charles, we, city,
The city, the CR.
okay, but we're the county board, don't we have to do that?
You will.
Okay.
You will vote.
It just sounds like somebody decided.
Yeah,
He's
we're
giving us suggestions.
being aspirational here. What we're going to do, we're going to do the new year.
Okay, well, it's just, it's not clear when you say that.
So you may also want to consider, we could create a landscaping facade grant program up there. You know, there's a number of properties heading up the highway there that are just need some help. We could allocate some of this money into a program where we maybe update the landscaping. Could be the plaza, could be there's a Chinese restaurant up there that needs some work. There's several buildings along that corridor where we could step in and proactively approach them to improve the corridor. We could put money there. And then again, marketing, advertising, this will be to boost that corridor and overall marketing effort. May take some money out of that to supplement great landscaping and facade grants for the north corridor. And then finally, the south CRA didn't have much in there, rolled most of it forward. So we ended up with all of our overhead, and then about $17,000 would be for, again, we could fund a entry feature at the south end of town. We did fund a little bit, some of the banners locations are in the south CRA. Geographically, it's a tiny little space, so there's not much in there. I really predict, I hope it's when the RV park is completed, that will contribute significantly. So its day is coming. Right now, the money just comes in about $8,000 or $9,000 a year coming in. So with that, I'll back up to the central CRA. We can talk about any of them you'd like to. Essentially, kind of continuing the focus we've been on, maybe increasing activity in the north and south CRAs. We're still I feel like we're still in a mode of fixing up what we've got, repairing, replacing, improving, and using our funds accordingly.
Commissioner, do you have any questions? Anything you want to talk about?
I have a couple of questions. Can you use your mic? Oh, thank you. I have a couple of questions. First, on the revenue side, you know, we've always had very small CRA. That is part, the money is so small, it's hard to do something with their operating expenses. And I'm noticing, am I correct about this, that looks at the city share of the CRA is barely moving the needle in terms of revenue. Like, for example, the central CRA, the city share, just went up, it's estimated 42,699 this year. And then next year is just y'all proposing 44,506. It looks like the CRA revenue that goes up the most, as you just pointed out, was the South CRA, which actually has $9,000. You just, in total revenue, just present that. Or no, it went up to 9,000. There we go. Yeah, so, but it went up 3 or 0.5. 2,500.
From 32 to 5,400.
Pardon?
The city share went from 3,200 to 5,400, so about $2,000, $200.
Right, so the share, it seems like the CRA city taxes are actually going up less than our ad valorem taxes citywide. Would that be a fair assessment?
It does look like that, because this is just a calculation.
Right.
You get the valuation, run the numbers, and that's the answer. Right. So it does look like citywide, there's more increased value than within our CRA.
Right, and of course, you know, keeping in mind citywide, we have waterfront property. I don't know what is making the difference, but so the part that concerns me, and not that this is anybody's fault, but it's just a fact to me that is important to look at, is that even though the whole purpose of having a CRA is to raise those property values by improving everything, so far we have not done that. And my concern then about the expenditures that we make, the things that we choose to do, I am hoping that we can really focus on things that will give us a return on investment. And one thing that concerns me is the different things that we do with the expenditure of the CRA money. We don't necessarily measure it, or if it is measured, that data doesn't really get back to it. So I'm hoping that we can choose very wisely with what we spend our money on, and that we will do some measurement, and we will really focus on what will bring businesses in and bring those property values up. That's just an observation.
And I feel that we are all headed in that direction. And then the CRAs for a very, very long time. And now there's opportunities, and we've got businesses that are correct. You're looking now to invest, and that's only going to improve the values of these properties.
And our grant program as well is going to be really have a direct impact, I think, on assessed value.
And that, from Smart Grant Program, it looked like it, the figures said we spent $40,000 of the 44 to 80, but is that up to date?
I think that's actually a projection.
I thought just on,
Tell you what today is.
I thought we spent 44 just on the office supply building.
Well, we haven't finished paying those bills, so.
Yeah, work is day.
So today, and you spent actually today we've only spent $17,443. So the bills are still coming in.
Well, I guess so. What I'm interested in knowing is out of the 80,000 that we set aside for those grants, what have we committed?
We've committed it was approximately to 4,000 or there. We still have about 28,000 to pay out on the current projects.
Right. So I guess I'm interested in what balance is that we will have to do.
Well-
To give it grant potential.
Again, that's gonna keep changing through the next couple months. In fact, on Thursday, I've got 2 more requests for you for grants, so it'll continue to change. So on first reading, then you'll know. You'll really know on second and final reading, actually, what the number will be. Because we can even update it as late as first reading of the budget with any final expenses we got, so we can clarify our role.
So
It really is a moving target.
your, the approximate, how much is 51, what is it that we are looking at? Is it 51 or 50?
About 54,000. I think it's about 54,000.
That leaves you with about 25 left after those, after that's all said.
That's what we're looking for. And then actually, one question that I have when I looked at the budget is my understanding that the commission authorized applying for the Main Street program.
Yes.
Okay. What will that, will be a cost to that? And how will that be funded?
No, there's no fee.
Or if,
It's essentially a grant kind of program. There used to be cash involved. There isn't anymore.
right, oh, I know that.
So we apply and then we get services and designation. So
Right, because, the Main Street program presented, I think, 2 years ago with when COVID first came. So I don't know if the application is the same, but, and this speaks to the historic preservation part of downtown Main Street. When I looked at the Main Street application, there were a lot of questions, about the city's historic preservation efforts, which we discussed in the workshop on updating our land development. So I don't know if the application is the same. I think this was from 2 years ago, but it asks, do we have a historic district? It asks, did we have an ordinance where we have certified local government? What else? It asks whether we were certified local government, did we have a board, preservation ordinance? Are those things important in eligibility for the Main Street?
I don't believe so. I served on the selection committee 1 year. Volano Beach came into Main Street.
Okay.
And it's just one thing we can, because many times Main Street programs advocate for that stuff. It's not there when they're established. So it wasn't anything that factored into our discussions when I served on the committee. It was a long time ago, so maybe it's different now. But that's, those may eventually become a goal of the Main Street program, but I don't think it would be a detriment to the program's application if there was not a CLG.
Or, but isn't the whole point of the Main Street program to vitalize that for downtown?
Which resides downtown, yeah.
It's a historic based effort.
Right.
Hey, can I just ask a question?
Commissioner Burton,
When we were looking at that 2 years ago to apply for Main Street, I mean, did we apply for it or did we just do it or what did we do with it?
she gave a presentation, that's all. She gave a presentation, there was no action taken.
So the city just said, well, that's not something we're interested
Yes.
in. So we had
Pretty
two,
much at the point, yeah. After saying, well, she didn't come, she did it by Zoom. She did it by Zoom.
now I do think.
Yeah.
The city, I guess, decided that at that point in time, it wasn't interested. So within 2 years, so that thing just kind of go.
I actually came and spoke about 2014 to the commission about this. At the time, I think the city manager.
So how many years was that? You just kind of let things go.
He wasn't city manager at the time when Catherine came, but he was speak out of. Okay. But the commission did, they took no action,
So you think you have a good shot?
I do.
Okay.
We were the only potential applicant at the National Main Street Conference, the last Florida Main Street meeting. And we'll see is it next week? The annual state meeting, we're likely to be the only there applying, so I think we've done a great job.
I think Kathy knows that, she has, she knows, I've had conversations with her back in 2018. And she knows presence is ready, and we're building that momentum to fight it. Really, hopefully that'll help, but she knows conversation is going on. Looking into it.
I just wanted to question, I know that you had to try to see the traffic. That had cost you.
It did, it's $275.
Okay. The answer was in cost.
Oh, to get our 501c3.
Clarify.
Yeah. And then we pay a membership to the National Trust for National Main Street Center for a membership.
What's that cost? Was there a number there?
Maybe $350. The city is a member right now, as opposed to the partnership.
That's a yearly,
Yes.
that's for a member of what?
The National Main Street Center.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
You're still under $1,000.
And that's okay.
And that,
No problem.
Commissioner DeVito, do you have any other questions? You said you had several.
I do, actually, Charles, before we came to this meeting, I was looking at our packet Thursday that has the CRA budget. And I'm noticing, like under the CRA cell, and it might be under, no, it looks, so there's 2 lines for salaries, like on page 2 of the regular budget. And this may be just in progress. There's a line for regular salaries, and then right at the top. And then when you go all the way down,
Administrator.
right, so
Yeah. We're switching over.
right, so eventually, administrator will come out.
Yes.
And then as well, so now we filled the position of CRA administrator. I can see it today. But it looks like the, which is its own line item. There's a line in the regular budget for the transfer of various funds for administration,
Yes.
one of which is from CRA, so CRA gas, whatever. And it looks like that amount is staying the same.
Yes, it will.
Okay, so, and that goes, I'm assuming that goes to partly to your salary, partly to finance.
Effectively, I don't really count much towards mine, but so the CRA doesn't have its own accounts payable person,
Right,
so forth. But it
so
covers
it's
that.
mainly finance.
Yeah, I think so. Well, she works with code and other employees, so it kind of covers any of that collaboration.
Okay, because I just wondered how exactly it was staying the same. So it's gonna be the same amount, but maybe for a little different, wider purposes.
But there's actually they have a formula I can show you. They do it for all the departments, how they calculate based on the number of users of the department.
Sure.
But I've had several people in the Clarion look at it, to evaluate it, and all said, yes, it's a solid formula, makes sense. I always think it's too much or too little. I thought it was too much for the CRA, too little for the other funds, but they're like, no, that's a defendable calculation for a lot of purposes.
Okay, because I know it's always been that way, and we're actually only looking back to the current year right now, like, so we're not looking back to that. And then, one final question, advertising and marketing. So, do we have specific plans for that? Do we have an idea of what to be done with advertising?
We did get a plan with our deliverables for the branding implementation strategy, which does contain some printed material, some web, going to have a website template for a downtown website. So we use those funds for those things as well as begin to boost some of our posts, get a farther reach, we want people to come visit us for the weekend as an example, so extend our reach out into the neighboring communities. So it'll be used in a variety of formats as well as from the traditional outlets. The city, the general fund buys an ad in the annual magazine that the newspaper puts out. Be updating that. The downtown may participate in that as well. CRA participate in that.
But I remember Commissioner Banks asked the other day, he didn't see our ad and something. So my question about the marketing is, and this goes back to return on investment, is that really the right amount of money for marketing? Because what I see is that communities around us are growing tremendously. And even if we have activities or improvements, not to mention we have a significant number of vacant lots and vacant property. You know, for the activities that we have, I'm not sure that it's sufficient just to market to the surrounding community. I mean, for example, some areas, you mentioned the website. They have a website that will put everything that a particular locality has to offer. So that, for example, I mean, if there's one thing I see on social media, it's people wanting to know, where can I get this service? Where can I get that service? Particularly, as far as I can tell, nobody locally, so I guess nobody outside of Crescent City knows that we have a Bryson computer, or certain hairdressers, or it just seems like there's not really a cohesive presentation of the services you get, whether you're with this. So it just seems to me like we have things here, but we haven't yet reached the point of making it easy for others to come, whether they're visitors, residents, or potential, either one of those. And to me, it seems like that could get us over. So I'm saying, is marketing enough? Maybe
There's never enough marketing money,
right,
but
but
I don't know what the right number is. We
well, I
did
guess
a
that's
proposal.
the question.
We got a website proposal from TownWeb, who does our current site, for $6,000 to do a downtown website, but we don't have feeding bids yet. So we'll look at that. I think I had $10,000 in there. And again, in the next few months, as we price things out, we may come back and shift that a little higher. We like begin to sense that's really more of a priority than something else in the budget. I did forget to mention, we're going to add a utilities line here to get Wi-Fi over at the annex room, Christina's office over there, and code enforcement, sharing the cost of utilities over there. So we'll add a line to this budget.
Can I say something just from a personal perspective? I've run many businesses, and a lot of times when I'm being personal businesses such as hairdressing, computers, work on, whatever it is you're doing is a personal kind of business. It's really up to those businesses to tap into areas to market themselves. Yeah, the city's nice to. I know the city now has a website. There's other websites out there that you can tap into. For example, we're insulator people, and we're in all the insulator magazines and those kinds of things because that's what are interested in what we're selling. So I just want to say that you can't always put it on city to advertise for all of the different things that businesses are doing, I guess.
As far as the CRA goes, I would like to respond to that. As far as doing things for business, if you could say, well, we shouldn't be putting roofs on businesses like paint. What areas do to advertise themselves? Areas that are more successful than we are. Many cities do this on their website. for example, Cedar Key. You can look on their website, and it is not a matter simply of advertising a particular business. It is a matter of advertising the community and using that to draw people in. Cedar Key is just an excellent test. And there are many municipalities and geographic areas, for example, who might decide we want to join with Alaska and Park that have gorgeous websites. For example, if you want to go to areas in New England, upstate New York, Midwest, you can go on a website and read everything that that location has to offer. And it's very attractive and it draws people in. It tells people whether I want to visit.
That's the intention for our downtown.
Right. So I'm saying that's what I'm asking. And as you point out, never enough, but isn't it the right amount? Because, you know, we have things here, but they're a little bit hidden. And the idea is to present a picture of what's up. And as well, I don't know if there's the ability for businesses to chip in or, you know, whatever. Oh, and I think my last question on the list is, what is funding Main Street? Is some of the Main Street funding in the CRA budget? Or is it all private donation?
It's all vendor fees. We have a few memberships that call it investors. So they're raising money essentially from sponsorship.
Okay, but do we need to have funds specifically for Main Street and our budget?
What I like to do is facilitate Main Street making money. So we started up we covered the cost of the market, get it going. Now it's beginning to generate, support itself. So then the profit then, after the bills are paid, goes to the partnership. So rather than a direct line, I found my experience, I was a recipient of a quarterly disbursement from the CRA. Then everybody in the community, hey, where's our quarterly disbursement? So to me, it's better if we enable an organization to raise money, and then it like doubles the effect of our expenditure. So we were paying for the portal ads, for instance, the market started, then now they make money, they go do more. So a little bit of money we put out for portal ads now does double what it would have done. So that's what the approach I take rather than a line. In the future, I would love to have a line where we contract with the partnership for certain services, marketing, food preservation, whatever. Because I've had that relationship with other cities where I have a contract for service, and I report every month on how I'm doing with the contract. Every quarter, progress we made, the money we spent, time to spend the next quarter. It was tracked very closely. That in the future I may come back to you with a contract for services that they would provide.
Let me ask you a question. In grass and charts, see a lot of wood, save a lot of people. But individuals study grass and charts tell us our productivity, trying to go and get next. How far we're away from our goals. Believe in that.
I love reading graphs and charts and creating them. I don't have them in any of my presentation today, but I can certainly work on that.
Think about it.
Okay.
Because when I work field, I just look on the graph and it tells me how many $1 billion such and such brought in, you know, stuff like that. And it keeps you from funding to papers and also trying to find out this. Look on the chart, it kind of tells you where you are. You got specific goals, tell you how far you're away from that.
Visual, I'm visual, I like visual.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, can I follow up on Shaq's question about grass and parks? And I think some of us will remember that the prior budget, different pie chart. They were very helpful. They showed like I think the pie charts, the revenue and the pie chart expenses. That's a little different from what Commissioner Banks was talking about, with the productivity bar charts, which I agree that's very helpful too. We did have a budget chart and we had clarity to be able to help with that. How about it there?
It could, and I did one, I think, for the first and second reading of the budget last year. I planned to do that in September, once we figure out where everything's gonna fall. But I can create those, for the next meeting, so you can look at it visually. What we said we'd spend and where we spent, and then the percentage of the budget and so forth.
June, we used to,
Well, I know of their, because when they did their proposal, they had margin.
And that's where Mr. Banks is coming from. It's easy to repay it also. Lisa's comment about us being able to measure in some way the money that we're spending, so we can see if we're spending in the right way or whatever. It's probably a good idea, we could be for this to do that. But I don't believe we can measure everything that we put out there. For instance, you mentioned Northtown helping that particular business or whatever. I don't know that you can measure other than the way it looks. And so I don't want us to get too rigid with this, because looks are also what draws people in. I don't like the way it looks. I'm not going into business. And I think that business could be struggling to.
Well, with valuations, we can track that easily. It's more difficult to track, for instance, the number of inquiries we get downtown and businesses, likely result of doing the market and the movies and the sunsets and all that begins to get interest up. It's hard to measure that and
Yes, exactly what I'm talking
track it.
about.
But it's a result. So ultimately, we kind of look at the number here at budget time that keeps moving up. Faster it goes up and it starts going up exponentially, then we really have data. A lot of it's just chugging away until suddenly see some hard data that's there.
It's beginning to work.
and right now too, we're probably a little premature on that.
Yeah.
Because we,
There'll
like
be a
you
little
said,
lag, yeah.
yeah, we haven't, nothing has really happened on Central in very, very, very long. That's now starting to come back to life. So I think maybe in the future that's some work on it, but right now.
Anything on the north or south?
I'm just really glad you mentioned the Chinese restaurant and that particular area. I agree 100%. I think it is our gateway and it's definitely. And they have such great products. They have great outlets.
I think there's still drive-through.
They
Yeah.
But they came in, when they came in though, they went after the building, remember that building? It was just, let's go ahead, I know Charles hates when I say this, it was yucky. It was just, he hates that word yucky, but it was yucky.
I'm behind you on that.
It was, you know, and you're like, ooh, and they came in, they cleaned it all up. They worked on it, but it seems like it's now kind of going back in that direction where it's just not having the maintenance on it that it did in the beginning. And some of that's, you know, some of that, a lot of us have been business people. We know you're in there trying to run a business. Sometimes, you know, that falls to the wayside because just there's only so much time in the day.
Talking to maintenance, upkeep, that's what generates business.
I mean,
So something that they really need to.
But they may have come in with funds to get started and might not have the funds.
might not have it.
But they have a good product, as you say,
Yeah,
and they need some help.
yeah, because we definitely want to.
And I'm sure that quite a bit of our sales tax being generated. And there's a, seems like there's a steady stream. All data is back. As well as, you know, I don't know how Spanky stays in business, quite frankly, they're very popular. but they have a terrible policy, and sometimes it does not allow them. So to me, they're a wonderful business. I think one of the oldest restaurants. But that whole plaza, as you drag.
And then we go to the south end. And nothing is worse than driving into the south end. I mean, from the south end of town into town, and you've got that Circle K that just looks awful.
But then you wonder about the 4 large houses that are being built south of town.
Yeah.
Something's happening here.
And nice, really nice,
Nice
nice
houses,
big
right.
house. But I would like on the south end as
Which reminds me, I need to ask this, what's going on with the RV park?
They submitted, final site plan, had a number of comments, needed a lot of clarifications. Their engineer had left a lot of things off plans, and so they're back at their engineers, making those adjustments, and then they'll resubmit.
So when do they think they get started?
Well, the applicant said when one of his challenges was he had to make his ponds bigger because of the composition of the soil.
Okay.
And every time he had a change, it took 3 months to get it back from his engineer. His engineer's backed up. Many professions are right now.
Right.
So it could be a 3-month delay from this round of revisions as well.
I bet he is frustrated.
Okay.
But let me ask you, you're talking about, you know, the parking lot out of the track out there. What can we do about that? Are you talking in front end of your car? A stranger can just cook, even going in. Now, within that park place, now they did a major change. A look, but is there any kind of force-man or
We could, we have a carrot and we have a stick. We can, send our code enforcement to cite them for the potholes damage, or we could offer, some assistance to, if there's some financial hardship to parent.
Or the people that are renting from that, says you won't do with the church or whatever, so.
And we can use this stick.
That's it. Well, we can offer first, let's see.
Yeah.
I'm serious, we really need to. The parking lot look terrible. I'm sorry.
It's not gonna be terrible, you have to dodge holes.
Yeah.
It's not just. It's bad.
well, he has to see that too, to work on that plaza. He's got numerous vacant spaces in there, and I don't see people running to that location to try to rent out.
I see as this area grows, he's got the potential to rent those spaces because they're already made buildings, there are, storefronts. And I think it would be a good place for another business.
Okay, do we have anything else on our CRA? We go on to our better place,
That's all from me.
all for you.
That's what. So our Better Place plan, remember we did a mid-year adjustment. Greg found we had a larger fund balance than we thought. And there was some confusion there because the previous employee had put our American Rescue Act money into the Better Place account. So we had to sort out. So you can see we have projected $1.3 million in there, but that includes the ARPA funds, the Rescue Act. Short of $275,000 Rescue Act funding going into the water fund for me on Main Street. So we do have about a little over $800,000 projected for next year in the Better Place plan. And I just generically put it as improvements other than buildings, infrastructure, equipment, and machinery. And then this is the remainder of the ARPA, American Rescue Act. And then actually the contingency, $460,000. So this fund is really your opportunity to do some projects I did some needs and some needs and some wants. So the needs are the trucks we talked about, utility billing and natural gas. We've already paid for a pole barn, which we think will be delivered in 5 or 6 months.
How much
And then-
did we pay for that?
I don't remember what the, that's coming out of the, although we haven't all paid, but we put a deposit down. And then we'll come to you with an amount to build that barn. And then, city hall renovations, actually, we had a budget this year. We tried to do a small project this year. Didn't anybody take the job, we're still not done. So we thought maybe one consideration is we do a larger, the whole finance wing was initially gonna be first, but it came into like $275,000. So let's just do the bathroom, a couple things in the annex. But maybe a bigger bite on interest, contractor in doing the project is a possibility. We also need to put in a sewer and water project, do a project on Oakwood. It's not actually on Oakwood, it's the block along Oakwood that's, they're building a house there on the corner, Oakwood and 308. He needs to either put in a septic tank or hook to our sewer. And so we've done we asked you about a feasibility study, which is funded. And we're finding out it's not as easy as we thought. There's not enough slope there for a gravity system. So we're still working out a solution there, but we may consider better place spots to get that sewer project started. We don't want him to put in a septic tank right there in town.
Let me ask you, on the west side of Oakwood, all those houses along there, are they on sewer?
I believe so. And then there's a housing project there that has its own system,
Right.
lift station. So if we were to go through the block, it would serve the houses on the east side of Oakwood.
Right.
And then there's commercial property, actually behind the commercial property on 17.
Yes.
A few of those come all the way through, something that's really weird, because it's a 60-foot public right of way through there, through the middle of that block, through that forest. Like they
Yeah,
intended a
right.
road to be through there.
It's very heavy.
So all those houses on the front yard and the backyard will be on the street. Kind of a odd way to lay it out. I told it it's an alley, but it's 60 feet wide. So they could put a road, we could put a
Need
road,
to be a street and one way.
but we need to put a sewer line there. So we're, Mid-Hours working with us on the solution and probable cost. Probably had that before we voted in September.
Well, I see somebody cutting through there. Did you see that?
We hired a guy to come chew his way through there so we could get in there and see what's going on. Very overrun. So the other things to consider is, I mentioned this, I think, last week. You could decide we could do a sidewalk program where every year we reconstruct a block of damaged sidewalk, put in one block of new or some combination. There's talk, Ms. Glover mentioned there's a plan out there for a walking trail around Heritage Park. I haven't seen the plan, but it sounds like a neat idea. I love the idea of sodding the land park. The grass over there is terrible. Most of it's terrible. The park. Actually, there's no sign. We don't have an Eagle Lion Park sign. It's, I think, the only park we have, well, other than the little one on the south end of Lake Stella, doesn't have a sign for the name of the park. So that's an option, a monument sign that actually would have space to put a special event that's coming up in that park. Pickleball courts, we've talked about that, adding so we could do tournament play. Pickleball, we do need a new chipper, Public Works. That's a one, we want a chipper. Actually, we've been working on the lights on Central, the globes on the lights are all yellowed and aged, and it would be good to replace those, and the bases are beat up.
Did you try cleaning those?
Not yet, we haven't pulled one off yet.
I've been looking at those, basically, those you have already. So,
Those are, and they're plastic, so I think they're probably not
I'm sure they're plastic or they look sell. They don't sell glass,
Oh, they don't sell
They're
plastic.
not glass.
so I would take one down to.
So we'll try it. That's in our plan. So, and the bases have been pretty badly damaged from various sources. Actually breaking them open, there's holes in the base. You can see the wiring inside some. Other ideas I've heard people talk about playground equipment. I know there's a piece of equipment at Heritage Park is broken. We need to repair. Dexter Beach Park, that playground equipment is very washed out. Culver Park, and someone mentioned about a restroom park, just a portal in there. So a lot of opportunity with this fund for $750,000 to really have an impact. And that's the purpose of this fund, in my view. You know, when you go to renew it, put penny signs all over everything. This is your penny at work. How you want to renew the tax?
I was gonna work on the gazebos.
Could be, actually, I think we can put that in this year. The,
Should be, you got the gazebo, like Cell Park, you got people line and he's painting and upgrades. You wanna make sure all the light boxes work, people lines out, you park. Even the electric box and Cell Park.
that's it.
Also, you did that.
That's in this year's work plans.
What is it?
Yeah, you guys already approved it.
It doesn't happen.
Check on stuff.
I haven't seen anything, I haven't seen anything happen.
And we can, I think we can do the repairs to Lake Stellar. Probably paint. The other one with this year's parks budget.
Have you had the government, lines, the road lines?
Last I heard, it's in design. That's, I can find out the status update on that project.
You're excited. I knew when that came through, he said, oh, Commissioner Banks is gonna be so excited for that.
Charles, also, we had several years ago, when we were designing Fletcher Park, going to have a walk through that wood area around the lake. What is happening?
That's still, like, that same piece of equipment that, chewed into the easement. He went in there, started clearing, got stuck. It's very muddy in there. There's actually a couple of streams, ditches that go through.
Okay,
there.
so it's not feasible. Then.
Well, we don't know that yet. We pulled him out with a tractor, and we had started doing it by hand. And we thought this thing would be easier, and now we've got to go back by hand.
Mhm.
Try to get. We also want to reopen access road to our lift station. It's right along the park, the trailer park that's there. We have there's actually a little road, raised road that's all overgrown now. It's just into our lift station. We may loop the trail along that stretch.
Sitting here, I remember we had talked about this was a problem before also, that we would do walkovers, wooden walkovers in the muddy areas. That's not probably gonna go away, and we shouldn't try to make them go away, because I don't think we can mess with wet areas.
And that was a concern that was raised, going through there, because we can culvert the little streams so the path can,
You work all over it.
I'm not sure what the application.
Okay.
I have a question about Commissioner West's question. So when you're talking about the wet areas, are you talking about in the area adjacent to Fletcher Park?
Yes.
Okay, Charles, have you asked the troopers about that?
Ask them about the trail.
Yes, because the tree board went, I was with them, when I served on the tree board. We walked the whole property. It is very wet. And are there not wetland implications there? There are streams that go into Lake Crescent. I'm not really sure why you want to. But there was actually a little map that was drawn with a
I have the map. So, but you can see when you get out there, the trail's gonna have to go where we can.
yeah, I
physically
walked,
go.
I mean, we walked the whole thing. We went.
You can't walk it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I walked it
It's
out
a
there.
tangled,
with them and
thick
tangled that.
undergrowth,
Everything.
jungle, bamboo and banana.
Yeah, it was like that one there.
So,
It's,
so
yeah,
there are implications of water management district, maybe
Right.
check on that, maybe put an end to that project.
But they cleaned it up because it was, we went out.
We cleaned out the homeless
There
camp,
was homeless camps
open
all
that
over
up,
there.
so we can't
That all out. So that was important.
speaking of better place, is there more, I mean, the question I have is, are there cost estimates for any of these things? And then, are you going to present to us, I noticed in the regular budget, there was a discussion I mean, do you have more pages besides this? Okay.
No, I need, I want to get a sense from you of what's important, what do you want to get done in the community. I can suggest a lot of projects.
Okay, well, hang on. So I just want to make sure I wasn't interrupting the
No, just
flow
the
of
last one.
presentation. So, because two things, when you say you want to get a sense of what we want, in the proposed regular budget for us to look at Thursday, well, no, it's the piece on the fire station.
The fire station,
Right.
the ambulance piece that you're talking
Right, and you had two options for the ambulance piece. And one was, using better place plan funds or ARPA funds for more water projects. And the other was using better place plan funds to supplement. So,
There are three options. Modular building, supplementing ARPA with Better Place.
Right.
Or using the ARPA on water projects and going after legislative appropriation for the fire and ambulance.
so one thing that we have talked about in the past, I mean, these are a list of, very nice things to do. But typically every year we get a request for better place plan funds for something really significant. You know, having to do with machinery for public works, very expensive vehicles, and as well, we have funded, 8 significant, I guess, capital needs for, our water system. And what we talked about last year was the need to have a list from public works of the equipment and, the expensive equipment, the relative, age, renewal date, when's it gonna be replaced? And I would say the same thing for projected for public works, because some of these things look very interesting, but, I'm a little concerned about having that reserve that seems to be for those, public works and utility equipment. Those are pricey items, and we've had to wait. So,
Yes, and there are some, if you look at the 2 trucks and the city hall renovation, could be as big as, especially the city hall renovation could be the whole fund. The pole barn, we think will only be $20,000 or $30,000. You're right, I'm working on an inventory and a lifespan estimate of our equipment. Our dump truck's 20 years old, our tractor's 20 years old. And other projects may come up as we roll into the new year. This is an opportunity for you all to identify something that's a want rather than a need for the community. Such as I heard a lot of talk this last season of pickleball tournament, right? Can't do that here.
I'll tell you truthfully, I don't know, there's 2 kinds of play, there's tournament and regular. And I know, I looked into this years ago for some other things, tournament play is we would need to get data on that. So how many courts do you space? I think we need more than what we could possibly buy. But my original question was, it's nice to do some of the more fun things, but to me, I don't know exactly how many trucks we have or what the requests are going to be in the future. And we said this last year, and I really think it's important that we get a handle on, what our replacement of expensive equipment is going to look like, in 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years.
I think we discussed that. I mean, we discussed it the last budget workshop we had, but they're gonna do that unless we say.
So also, the water and sewer on Oakwood, also we're expect this week, the design for the Lake Avenue stormwater problem down at Taylor's house. And there will be a projected cost for that as well. That might be an issue. And then we're also exploring what the problem, we have a problem with the sewer line on Habitat Way that may need to be replaced. That'll be another large capital expense. So we may find when we get down to the vote, we've eaten it all up with water and sewer projects. But I'd like to know from you all, kind of, you know, if we could do something that's what I would call fun out in the community. You know, yeah. What will we do? This is the opportunity, this plan, something for the residents, something we're happy about, proud of. We want to renew the penny sales tax, we can say that. Sales tax.
Well, actually, me, anything we can, for like press on and keeping the runoff out of it is for everybody. I understand we got blue green algae out there. And people are telling me that they're living near a lake, that they're getting, I don't know, that they can smell it in the air, that it's not pleasant. Well, I find it interesting,
I have to be able to. I said, I've been out there on the lakes with my family and we haven't seen evidence of it, been looking for it, but haven't seen evidence. So I don't know really exactly where it is on the lake. I don't, she's targeted those specific areas. So
well,
I didn't smell anything.
well, because, you know, if you're, makes a difference when you're there, I don't know if it's afternoon, it's really hot, what. I find it interesting that, I think you said Veronica Glover said there was a plan for a walking trail around Perry Bank Park. So, actually, when you think about it, that's Walnut Road, right? Street Walnut goes north south on the east side of the park, right?
I think so.
Bay Street.
And over to Bay.
But let's say, so there's sidewalks on Bay, but it's my recollection of a walking trail. I don't think there's any sidewalks on Walnut.
No, it's not.
No, it's just along the soccer fields there.
And dirt roads.
Yeah, that's very.
We have
Like you've been saying.
on the fence in the pond to get around, but this would be like an 8-foot path, people walk side by side, do laps around the park. Sounds like a neat idea.
Right, because what I'm saying is there's not, once you get past Bay Street, there's not a lot of places to walk that aren't in A Street. So somebody could go there and jog or whatever. Oh, and the other thing for Better Places and Fun here is, I know we have the barriers out on blocking off Pine Street,
Yes.
and that has made part of that control, and I hear that from on Pine Street. That's made a difference with the traffic on Pine Street. But we still have speeding in other areas, traffic calming. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we might have paid for speed bumps and this would apply to any other kind of traffic calming too, out of the place.
You could. We also, I got an estimate for design of a roundabout. It's $15,000 to design
Well,
a roundabout that we would just replicate around the city.
and where would that go?
Well, this one was for the intersection of Pine and Reed.
And
We're supposed to revisit those barriers after 3 months. And that would, we could pay for that and we can reuse that design over and over. As Commissioner Burton has pointed out, having somebody have to turn the wheel is a very effective means of, we'd get rid of the stop sign, basically, it would just be roundabout intersection.
Then you're gonna slow it down for you, put down that Bay Street.
Yeah.
Around that big old tree.
Yeah.
You gonna slow down around this.
Well, I hate to tell you, that is not 100% true because,
You hit the tree, did you?
no, not at all. I was riding my bike there on a Sunday or Monday morning. Somebody going to one of the residences on Lake Street, and not only did they not slow down for the other tree, and it was a middle-aged woman, not the person that was not a teenager. Not only did they not slow down for the tree, they went on the wrong side of the street, past the tree, at about 40 miles an hour. So,
Well, there's another thing that I was talking about that. Surprised that I can now park on the street. Remember, I brought it up at our meeting. I was told that we couldn't really park on the streets here. I don't know where you got that from, just on residents who live here. But now that I know I can park on streets, that's another way to slow cars down. And basically, every other street, park on this side, full blocks, park on the other side. People back over and slows traffic down. So, there's ways to do it without putting, speed bumps in. That's all I'm trying to say. And I don't like speed bumps because I don't like going the railroad tracks all the way through the city. I think it's just drive Walnut Street, crazy. So, that's just my feeling. I may lose that battle, but hey, that's me. Where I'm at with it, I think that we should use some imagination. That's all.
Well, regardless of what that mechanism we use or buy, there is still quite a bit of speeding. Don't have the ability to block off blocks, obviously, and you said that's temporary. Liz Gomez sent me a picture of some kind of traffic calming. I don't know if it was practical here. But there definitely are streets where I think speeding needs to be addressed, and we use the general budget and hire an off-duty police officer to write tickets, or we could put in some capital. And so I think we should consider something, because Grand Rondo to me is a problem. Grand Rondo and some of the east-west streets that don't have some. That you can so that to me is traffic calming as an item. Maybe that we could go down to that.
I think we need to look at as we go forward. We've got residents ask for certain things that we truly have neglected. Our parks, that's something that I feel like if Colbert Park being one of them. Commissioner Banks, I get that complaint all the time. You have little children out there playing, and we really have neglected just some of this equipment. So if we could, we gotta kind of balance this. I think we've gotta also be able to go out there and do some of these wants in conjunction with some of these necessities. And so I think this is a good way for us to start to look at these projects. Say, this is something that we all can agree on, and as we go forward, if we can do this, by all means, let's do this. Maybe we can have a workshop and prioritize some of these projects. But I do believe that our parks, especially, in showing some pride in the
I've been
community.
fussing about Colbert
Yeah.
for years back, so I think the backrooms situation there,
They have a portalet. That's what they
that's,
have. It's one portalet. It's
I
one
hate
portalet.
for it'd be nice to have a couple bathrooms right up against that fence there, so it's right close to the drainage,
And those bathrooms are expensive, and we know. I've
Yeah.
talked to other communities and other mayors, and said, we've got a lot of trouble with vandalism in our bathrooms. How do we stop it? And they said it happens. It happens. It's not just here.
Right.
It's everywhere. Unfortunately.
Some people-
But maybe we start, if the community sees that we're out there and we're trying to make a difference and we're trying to improve, maybe they'll start doing some self-policing themselves, and kind of put that on the community as well, help us out with this. We want to provide a bathroom so that little kids, when they're out there and they gotta go, they have a place to go and not go to portalet. I don't like going to portalet, I will. But,
they're next.
but they are. And, especially this time of year, the heat.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh. So
Well,
I think this is a good spot. I think we all can agree that we've got, a lot of necessities. The city itself has a tremendous amount of necessities, but we also need things that they can see, that the community can see their dollars going towards, because amenities. And, I have a plan in there. I guess they have a proposal for a splash pad. I found that going through some stuff.
Fletcher Park.
Fletcher Park, yeah, they were doing
Discuss that,
a splash pad, and I don't know. I know there's a lot of maintenance with one of those.
Right.
But, you know, just what can we do? You know, I just, so I think this is I think this is a good place to start. And as we go forward, if y'all come up with something, you know, or if a citizen, you know, reaches out to you, let's, you know, let's talk about it. Talk about
And one other thing I'm really concerned about is the sign, it's a couple of signs on Randolph there. But I'm so scared because I'm riding by there and I see people park on almost with the sidewalk at what goes around there now. And they just almost run over the sign.
What does the sign say?
No parking.
Yeah, I'm saying, no parking.
Right,
And they sitting out in the car with blanket on the ground and that's it. Evidently,
on Randolph Street.
yeah, I'm running over right around the lake there. Our lake, what property it is?
Right, right.
Yeah, on Grand Run.
Oh, Grand Lot.
Yeah, on Grand.
Oh, I thought you were saying on Randolph.
No, on Grand Run.
Grand Lot, right.
Yeah, I said, well, I don't know how we gonna be able to deal with that.
Right. Well, you know, we've had a hard time to try to keep people from parking on Bay and whatever, and the police put up barriers and signs, and they wound up in the tree.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is a problem.
Go to over the fence.
Right, it is a problem that signs are disregarded sometimes, but, you know, we just have to keep signs. So, I would say that.
Maybe we get a big type sign. Put this, they go
Just put electricity. Touch it.
park. I really don't, but it will ruin you.
Yep.
That's what I'm worried about.
No, I agree. We'll just do what they want anywhere, but I do have one question about the restroom. People ask me about this. I mean, it would be nice to have a restroom at Culver Park, but I know the restroom at Eagle Lions Park frequently are completely messed up. They have to be closed for repair. And then, a lot of residents are complaining me because they said the restrooms at Dexter Beach at Lions Park are frequently closed. But they go down there and the restrooms are closed. So I don't know. I don't know how all that works. But you know, so do we have certain hours that the restrooms are open?
We did have someone assigned to unlock them in the morning and lock them. The problem is that you guys get off at 4 and it's daylight till 9.
Right.
So we'd have to pay somebody to come back in, pay overtime. And sometimes, guys they forget or.
So you're saying they're technically open?
Well, now we just leave them open.
But now they're open all the time.
It's
Okay.
so late. I had to bring someone back in. We have minimal
I got it, but you're
guards.
saying now the restrooms are not closed, they are open.
My understanding.
Yeah, they be open now.
it. They are.
And it's just people, I reckon.
And
I don't know their behavior, but they can do things like that. I think the devil. Mary Bank Park, one time somebody got up in the sink.
Yeah, that was bad.
Now, how they got up in there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say,
No, you know,
but that's a shame.
what our guys have to do,
Our guys have to clean that
they
up.
have
Yeah,
to, they have to and that's just, no one should have to, you know, that's shame on those people
Somebody, I don't know who it is.
that are,
They think it's.
that are doing that. But I know as we came out of, the pandemic, they would close that legally parts place. And I remember when we were opening back up, it was just from the time that he went in there in the morning and opened them up at 4 o'clock and he left every afternoon. So there for a little while, they were closed, in the evenings, but now then, like I said, they're open all the time. If they're working.
Yeah, the Fletcher Park is closed, that sewer line's damaged.
We don't put paper towels in them. No,
I don't believe so.
no, because that clogs up toilets and somebody's gonna be stupid enough to put it down, or on purpose. But no, they-
Okay, do we have any other comments on Better Place? Is there any questions? Anybody has anything else? I'm gonna
So-
open it up. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so the, budget's on the agenda, and all the funds are on the agenda for tonight. So I think that's an opportunity for the public to have ideas and tell you what they think and make recommendations. Take that all into consideration. I think I told you, last enterprise fund workshop, we worked in your suggestions for the general fund. We're delivering the red. So, as we finalize the state revenue, know what those figures are, give you a better number of how much. So that'll be all reserves. The thing about the reserve is that we talked to you about it way back of just cutting it off at $1 million. There's like $1,029,000. So I'm going to talk to Jody. You haven't met Jody, by the way. She's been here. She's our new representative.
Breath of fresh air.
So I'm going to ask you for that little bit of the reserve, so we have a flat, sort of an informal policy of $1 million reserves, just not to come back to you after those funds unless it's something big or an emergency. So that'll give us a little more breathing room. We're about $100,000 with my estimates that I did for the grant writer, legislative lobbyist, demolition money. Put it all in there, and we're about $100,000 without knowing some of our state. So
City now, I guess.
And that
The
adds,
other thing too is it's natural gas. How come they're not paying for their own trucks out of the money that?
I don't think they make the revenue.
the gas line just doesn't have, they barely make their.
They've always started.
Let me say this, I'm afraid you can always storm go around, but, you know, we had to be very careful too on some of our monies, funds there. Because if a storm come and do a lot of damage in the city, okay, we know we're gonna get it back from the state, but it takes the state so long.
I think it took them 3 years last time.
Yeah, to get,
We had to borrow money.
yeah, borrow.
My street, Orange Avenue, it was a contract. They had to have a pulled over, push, and push. Because there's so many trees in there.
So
And that was just one street.
our reserve.
We have beautiful oaks and beautiful trees all over town. And I think it's always been to me, what makes this, between the water and our big trees, what makes this the place beautiful. But it's also a hurricane disaster.
I just remember, yeah, now, we.
Tropical storms.
Yeah.
clean up
Something
day to
right.
day.
I don't
Let's be a bar,
They made the bar,
maybe,
and that's Debbie, she's probably here.
Yes,
But we have the million, so we still have $1 million reserve.
I have a question about that $1 million reserve. You had mentioned at one point that, I know Diane, we have 2 people on the audience who may want to speak.
I'm gonna allow them to speak.
Sure, I understand, I know we're here. You said that, someone said that the amount of reserves we have like for us with the USDA grant. Would it be any help to designate some of our reserve as like hurricane recovery or disaster recovery?
I can ask them if there's a way to label that such that it isn't a detriment to
Because,
our efforts.
I mean, the bottom line is we're 30 miles of crow flies from the coast, and I think you all know what happened. It became uninhabitable, right? And, you know, you hope that never happened. But that was the last thing. And they literally were vacated.
blown away.
Yeah.
Literally.
And they didn't have water. So, right, that was just thought that crossed my mind. That's all I have.
So this time I'm gonna allow public comment. Come up, man, you know the drill.
And Saks 304 Chestnut Street. I had a question. We had that $80,000 facade grant. And we spent over $40,000 on one person's building. I saw the rendition that you did of how that facade grant could look with all of these, whatever the shield on, over all the buildings. Yeah, all the awnings with over all of the buildings, and it looked really great. It looked really, so have any of the other businesses been approached to have some of this facade grant applied to them? What was the application? What did the application look like? What was the requirements for this facade grant? And how did people apply for it?
Yes, we've offered it, explained it to a number of property owners, including I call it the arcade building, the orange building, that with Palmera's, further rendering, that with, Turner's, the old bank, the old bank building,
Woman,
and Loren, yeah, she's actually an applicant, on Thursday's CRA for a grant. So we have renderings done, and we approached the owner about, hey, you'd be open to this kind of improvement. And actually, we did one for the office building, the corner over here across from the salon, but they had already scheduled a painter to come in. They weren't ready to do what we had in mind, it's the use inside, so they just painted it themselves. Mr. Our studio. Yeah, he's still in the process. We do want to.
So it's in
It's in
progress?
progress, yeah, it takes a very long time to get getting bids, and even now, just to get the work done and paid for, it's like running wasting water.
Okay, I saw the render, the rendering, and eating it looked really pretty, and it's like, so why don't we do it?
Yeah, like we're waiting on glass, that project.
Thank you.
thank you, Diane.
Tracy Eckhart, 109 North Prospect. You asked for suggestions for better experience. I've got a couple of suggestions. One is at Sunrise Park. There doesn't seem to be designated parking. Drive on the grass area, the grass area. We've already talked to Charles about one area that could be good for community bad house viewing, but it wouldn't be really that costly to put up some kind of barrier, make designated parking, and keep drug dealers from being back in the woods there, parking where they really shouldn't. Like a picnic with their kids, or just, with other adults, more appropriate use of the park. Along with that, we have that empty lot where you pull into the park, right along Cypress, where that building was torn down about 2 years ago. Old asbestos.
About the entrance.
Yeah, the entrance. I mean, you can easily, make, car with trailer parking there for boats. Such as when we had the Rocky Festival, we had so many boats and trailers in there, there's a lot of area there. It's like designate appropriate parking, like we have by the side of the water tower. Along with that, I know there's been some interest from some out of town people about jail. In that area, also part of Sunrise Park. Again, that might be something to advertise, that would draw people in, make it nice. It would be an extension of the park. Harry mentioned the parking problem around, along Lake Stella Park, Red Rondo. That is never gonna go away, it's right off the street. It's the same problem
every golf course open in the country has, with people doing donuts falling off the street. Anytime you have a park, golf course, you have easy access, there's always gonna be some pool that tears it up. The only way to stop that is to have some kind of a barrier. And it doesn't necessarily be some, ugly fence. It could be plantings. Of course, when it's some substantial, but maybe some faster growing, bushes. Something, that's the only way you ever stop that. I've seen it all my life. And he talked about over cars. I'm glad somebody's seen the kids over there, but I've never seen anybody over there, but a bunch of drug dealers then. So. That part, it was take the money, put a bathroom up there, knowing that bathrooms are always vandalized. Why don't we invest in some security cameras? They're wireless. This is 2022. They're not that expensive. Why can't we have some kind of system that, no, you don't put cameras in bathrooms, but you can sure put them outside so you know who's coming and going. And they have timestamps.
They can't be interference, absolutely.
The same thing with the parking area. The same thing with maybe the front entrance or this one. Maybe my car was the only one that's been vandalized here, but certainly an opportunity for other people to have the same problem. One thing that I mentioned to Charles was trying to dress up the entrance, because you talked about north and the south. You're gonna put new signage and try to make it look nicer. The west entrance coming in from Willaca, I talked to you about that living wall there. It would kind of block that area between, scenically, between Rocket and Bay. There's enough room there, you can put what I call a living wall, but plantings that would just really make it a lot more attractive as you enter Crescent City from the west. So anyway, I just wanted to share my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
That does remind me, actually, an entry feature, the edge of town coming in 308 did not come out of CRA. Matching, that's our third entrance. Coming out there, there's a neighborhood watch sign maybe or something, but
And
I think that's it.
Yeah, I noticed that in Pomona, Saturday, I was going from Willaca to Pomona, and you come in, probably 62, as you come into Pomona Park on 309, or 308B, it's there.
They have a little sign.
They have a little sign, yes. They have a sign there, welcome to the park. As well as on both sides, the Humboldt Highway, so. They do have that there. Willaca has it too.
So I forgot about the jail. I've been invited to, I actually went and saw it yesterday. First time ever. Yeah. And Cherie had asked me, been down there asked me to see it. Really cool, full of junk. A lot of stuff we can just throw away. Doors been kicked in and laid down. It's in the redevelopment plan to make that a local attraction. So certainly makes progress on that, cleaning it out and figuring out what's what. Looks like I think it's watertight, but there's some old damage. Ceiling.
I look kind of like arrest him. Police chief take him down there by the time him and his dog get back. The prisoner be back.
Really?
So
They can walk out.
the chief, the name was Whitecap during that time. You remember?
Yeah.
And time he get back, and so he said, "Boy, didn't I put you in jail?" He said, "Yeah, but some moccasins was in there. So I had to get out of it."
And Guthrie,
Yeah. I wonder why nobody never mentioned about that jail, but I'm glad she brought it up.
Great suggestion.
Yeah.
Great suggestions. Okay, so now you have anything else that you want to, on these items? You good? Commissioner Sevita, you have some?
I go back just very briefly to the general budget. It's just, that speaks to planning. I'll take that. Just, you know, we said we're gonna go with, I don't know, am I recognizing?
I guess we advertised this, I guess, also, at that.
I'm wondering, if advertising, them on the general fund,
Is that what you want to go back and discuss?
budgeting.
Just budgeting in general, I'm not making a specific suggestion of what we said or don't. And more goes to planning. You know, we've talked about how, you know, money for the gas fund is coming out of, money for equipment for the gas department is coming out of that place. I do think it's very important that we check our long-term needs, our midterm. Because after I hear all the presentations, it's very helpful. I do have concerns about our financial liability. You know, you never know what will happen in the future. Particularly with the fire department. You know, we just get every year, this is what we need, this is where we think the money is coming from. That's a service that's very, very essential. And it, you know, ever since I heard the presentation of Rob Mass out there in 2017, the funding is very precarious or very essential. So for some of these departments, particularly gas, fire, utility, even code, you know, I think it's very important that we know what the current budget is and what the unmet needs are and what the projections are. Because if we don't look at things globally and make provision for them.
Thank you. Okay, with that, is everybody good? Okay, I'm gonna adjourn the work at 3:35.